Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of pointless things, where we fly by his pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is Frosthold, and Frosthold is an alliance town located up in the mountains of the Storm Peaks. And I love this place because it's such a unique town. Like most towns are out and about, they're out in the open, you can reach them really easily, but this town is actually only reachable by flying, which back in Wrath of the Lich King, not everybody had flying, especially not when you were leveling. And so one of the ways was actually you talked to this goblin at K3 in the Storm Peaks, and you did a quest line, and she was like, we need to get you there, but I don't know how. And then she's like, wait, hold on, we'll put you on a rocket. And so you literally take a rocket to this Frosthold location. But yeah, then the actual town itself is really cool. Like, it really does feel like it's buried within all of the ice and snow, and there's ice crystals sticking up all over, and then there's big dwarf houses kind of built into the ice. It's actually really cool. There's also Bragg's pet Snorts here. He's having a great time. Big fan of Snorts. And so yeah, I think overall this is just a really unique town that's hidden away in the ice and snow of the Storm Peaks and kind of forgotten about. And so that's why Frosthold is number 10. 9. Number 9 is Darkhaven, and Darkhaven is a town found in southeastern Revendreth in the Shadowlands. And one of the reasons I put this on the list is it actually gives me a modern Darkshire vibe. Like, it's just this small little quaint gothic town that's located up on a hill next to Castle Nathria. And I don't know, I just love it. It just has these cool vibes to it. It has a lot of cool buildings and statues, and there's all these weird spirit things going all around. There's a lot of, really cool stained glass windows, which, by the way, I want to do pointless top 10 stained glass windows at some point. Maybe years from now, if you're watching this, it'll be out, but it's currently not out. And there's the horse carriages going all around. It's a very nice town. And I like to include more modern stuff because I think there's a lot of top 10 lists out there that cover all of the stuff from the past, from years ago, right? People being like Darkshire, and I don't know. I still include some old towns. You'll see them on this list, but I do like to do a variety of expansions and different time periods and stuff, because I think it's fun to have the old and the new. So that's why Darkhaven is number 9. 8. Number 8 is Thelzamar, and Thelzamar is the dwarven town on the west side of Loch Modan, located north of Grizzlepaw Ridge and northeast of Stone Splinter Valley. And I was thinking of all the towns that I really like in World of Warcraft, but there was something that just stood out about Thelzamar, and I think kind of like Frosthold, it's buried within the land, you know what I mean? Instead of being buried within the ice and snow, it's kind of just buried within the grass and the dirt and the mountains. And there are other places like this, kind of like in the Twilight Highlands and stuff, but I feel like this was just one of the originals, you know what I mean? And so back in the day when you were questing, in Dunmorrow, and you were a new dwarf or a gnome, and you got out of that zone, you came to Loch Modan, and it was just, I think it gave you that kind of hobbity Lord of the Rings feel to it, like all the houses are buried in the hills, and then you got the tavern here with the big keg on top and all the kegs on the side. I don't know, it's a very cool type of fantasy town, and I'm giving it props because it was one of the first ones in World of Warcraft to really hit me on another level with those cozy fantasy vibes. And I don't know what it is, because like you would think I'd get it in Dunmorrow, and I still got it a bit in Dunmorrow, but I think the dwarf houses in the hills really do give it that hobbit vibe, and I think that's what spoke to me the most, and so that's why Thelzamar is number 8. 7. Number 7 is the Crossroads, and I know right after Darkhaven I was like, yeah, I'm not going to include things like Darkshire, all these old towns. Now I've got like 2 old towns in a row, but these are 2 old towns that are really my personal favorites and nostalgic to me, so that's why I'm including them. And the Crossroads is the biggest horde town in the Barrens. It's named for the crossing of the main north-south road from the Gold Road and the road from Ratchet in the east all the way to the Stone Talon Mountains in the west. And I don't know why I love Crossroads so much. I think there is that nostalgic factor for me because this is one of the first towns I came to while leveling as a horde way back in the day. And it was just really cool to come across this because you get out of Durotar, you're heading into the Barrens and you're following the road and you're like, whoa, like I'm getting to this big town and people are battling outside of it, and it's just, there's the big inn with the smoke coming out on top, and it's just this big trade hub, and it's just really cool. And so while the Crossroads might not be the most extravagant town, I think it's a very practical town, and I like that, and that's why the Crossroads are number 7. 6. Number 6 is Area 52, and Area 52 is a neutral goblin town located in Netherstorm. And Area 52 is obviously a lot like Gadgetzin and Everlook, and I contemplated putting those on the list, but I think Area 52 just has a bit more wackiness to it because the goblins are literally building a rocket ship here named the X-52 Nether rocket to try to journey into the Twisting Nether, which is actually insane. And I even included this as one of the worst jobs in World of Warcraft because there are radiated workers or irradiated workers here, and they're just kind of walking around like, I'm getting radiated, what are you gonna do? I also love that there's pieces of the town's outer walls that are just broken off and floating. I thought that's a fun little touch they added in when they created this. But I think that's what's so cool about this town is how much the environment is impacting this town, you know what I mean? And so that's why I decided to pick it over Gadgetzin and Everlook, even though I guess Gadgetzin has been impacted by the Cataclysm, but I think this is cooler than the Cataclysm, so that's why Area 52 is number 6. 5. Number 5 is Tel'Rador, and Tel'Rador is an alliance town located on top of a giant mushroom in Zangarmarsh. And I think a lot of people remember this town not only because it's on a giant mushroom, but because the elevator here is kind of wonky. And so it was very easy to be like, I'm gonna get on the elevator, and then it was like, oh, no, you're not, and you would just fall to your death. So a lot of people remember it for that, but that doesn't take away from the coolness of being on top of a giant mushroom. But the main thing I love about this town is the aesthetic of it. You've got the little side platforms on the mushroom that almost mimic mushrooms themselves, and you've got the town square area with the big fountain shooting out water, and you've got all the plants growing around it, and you've actually got some mushrooms growing around it as well, which I think is kind of funny. Well, maybe it's not that funny. It's just, I don't know. It's ironic. Maybe it's not ironic either. It's just, it's mushrooms growing on other mushrooms, which apparently can happen. I just looked it up and it says they can indeed grow on other mushrooms. Another interesting fact about Tel'Rador is it does not have food vendors, and for lore reasons, because many of the quests relate to food gathering because they're close to starving. Food is shared among their own people and they won't sell it to outsiders. So yeah, there's a bunch of reasons to love Tel'Rador, and that's why it's number 5. 4. Number 4 is Half Hill, located in the Valley of the Four Winds in the Mist of Pandaria. I also realized I missed the opportunity to put Tel'Rador at number 4 and be like, number 4 is Tel'Rador, and it would have been a rhyme, play on words type of thing. But we're past that. It's already number 5. This is number 4. And one of the reasons I put Half Hill here is because whenever I think of Pandaria, my mind always goes to Half Hill. Even before Lucky Doos and Grummels, which I know is like sacrilegious, but it always goes to Half Hill and the Valley of the Four Winds. And not only is it in a really aesthetically pleasing location with all the trees and the grass and the hills all around, but it feels like an advanced Crossroads to me with all the trade stuff going on and the food vendors and the farms and all that stuff. It's just, I love it here. I also learned while researching that the Pandaren grow extremely large vegetables here because there are waters that have been flowing down from the Vale of Eternal Blossoms for millennia. Its waters kept the Vale in bloom, and their runoff into the Valley of the Four Winds created the most fertile farmland in the entire world. Not just Pandaria, but the entire world. And that comes from Lore Walker Cho, so you know it's true. And so yeah, Half Hill is fantastic, the Valley of the Four Winds are fantastic, and that's why it's number 4. 3. Number 3 is Fuselight and Fuselight by the Sea. And Fuselight by the Sea is a picturesque seaside town founded by explosive enthusiasts for explosive enthusiasts. And so Fuselight by the Sea is actually run by the Steamweedle Cartel, and to get here you have to take a transporter in normal Fuselight, which is located in the Badlands. And I think my favorite part about this town is just the fact that it's an entire town founded by goblins that love explosions. Like that. That alone was enough for me to put it on this list. I was like, I don't know where to put it on this list, but there's no way I'm not putting Fuselight by the Sea on this list because it's pure goblin insanity. And when you go around the town, there's just a bunch of cannonballs and bombs and gunpowder and these mechanical sheep that have dynamite strapped to them. And every once in a while, one of the sheep will just randomly explode. I don't know if there's any purpose to that or if it's just them having fun with explosives, but whatever it is, I appreciate the effort they put into making an entire town based around explosions. And so that's why it's number 3. 2. Number 2 is Warbeast Crawl, and Warbeast Crawl is a town located in Zuldazar that is essentially Jurassic Park. And somebody can make the argument of like, Crendor, this isn't a town, there's no like houses and stuff for people or whatever, but you know what? I would argue that this is a town for dinosaurs, which makes it even cooler. And so it says here that it can be found east of Dazar'alor, and that all of the dinosaurs that haul Zandalari goods, carry their armies, and fight their wars were born and raised here, which truly does make it the number 1 dinosaur town in World of Warcraft, mainly because I don't think there's any other dinosaur towns in World of Warcraft. There's that island with all the dinosaurs on it in Pandaria, but I don't think that's really a town. This is like an actual town. And so yeah, I remember questing here in Battle for Azeroth. It was one of my favorite spots to go to initially when Battle for Azeroth came out, and I was like, yo, this is a dinosaur town, and it was just really cool. I loved it a lot, and so that's why Warbeast Crawl is number 2. 1. And number 1 is Marl, and Marl is a Niffin town found in Aj-Kahet. And there's so many reasons I love this town, but the main one is it's a combination of Niffin stuff and goblin stuff, because the Niffin came in contact with the venture company goblins, who excavated their way into Aj-Kahet and then joined forces with them to make this town. And so the goblins have built a robot fighting arena in there, and they've built a swimming pool in there. They've got a bar by the swimming pool where there's some Niffin that are just having a drink or eating something. It's just, this town is so quirky and fun, and I love the main Niffin area that they made back in Dragonflight, but I feel like this takes it to another level because the goblins have moved in, and they're just combining their cultures into one town, and I think that's what's so cool about it. And so while this might not be everybody's favorite town, it's my favorite town, and so that's why it's number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you can check out Animals with Jobs from last week, or you can check out Mushrooms, since I mentioned mushrooms earlier in the video. Also, consider liking the video and commenting below on what your favorite town is. Okay? Okay. See you.